Okay, we'll call the meeting to order, and one member is not present, I guess. So there's just four of us here. Item 488, this is license applications, various license applications. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been
Subject
moved-
to necessary requirements.
Oh, yes, I like that, never mind. And if all be subject to necessary requirements, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that motion carries. And you all sign these later. And then item 49, it's a outdoor application, and I had a question about the hours. Should it be 10 or 11?
9 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, or no, I'm seeing, okay, I had that backwards, okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Alderman.
Is this the first time, have I been missing? Do people usually book a rain date for outdoor events? I don't remember ever seeing a rain date scheduled like that.
Oh, it looks like a beanbag turn, one of those.
I don't recall a rain date.
No, I mean, I guess it's very forward-looking of them at least, so that if it rains out, they don't have to come back to us. But we're only approving one day. Okay.
No, but
What
we're
if it
doing
rains
two.
halfway through the first day and we let them come back the second half of the second day?
We're doing two.
We're okay? Well, whatever. I'll move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Then we go to item 50, and I have to turn my page here. That's a, another outdoor event,
No, I don't believe so, Mr.
or is that
Chair.
indoor,
This- yeah,
indoor,
this
another
is-
event,
yeah.
9 to 1.
Yeah.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Moved and second. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, that one carries. We have, item 51, and I believe it's through 58, correct?
53.
Oh, okay, I see it, 53.
Move to place on file.
Second.
Those 3 items.
Move to place on file. Moved and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, and that one carries. And then item 52, I believe that is, oh, we did that, yeah, we did 52 and 53. Hell, I'm new at this. 56 through 50.
54. No, we need 54 now.
We're holding that one.
Yeah,
Oh,
54 is hold.
Yeah, okay.
And then we have 56, 57, and 58. Would those be placed on file? Is there a motion?
So moved. Place on file. Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries as well. And that
Mr. Chair, I move we
concludes.
adjourn.
Yes. Second, I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.
All right.
You'll have
And I'll call the Administration and Finance Committee to order, but, well, I'm calling this to order, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Ms. Grill needs to come in, and she's stuck at another meeting, so we're gonna take a bit of a break. Just hang out here for a minute.
Okay.
Break. Good, I can wish my wife happy birthday.
It's your birthday today.
meeting to order.
So you know that.
4 members are present, 1 member is excused. We'll go on to item number 11, an ordinance to amend the City of West Allis salary schedule, most recently amended by an ordinance due to completion of the classification compensation study appeals process.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Alderman May. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Rote. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
What do you want to help him unless he can get it?
Item 12, ordinance to repeal section 2.71 of the West Allis revised municipal code relative to information technology user group.
Move approval.
Motion from Alderman May.
Second.
Second from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 13, resolution relative to approval of the employment contract for the position of IT director for Anthony Workacheski.
Move approval.
A motion from Alderman Weigel.
Second.
Second from Alderman Rote. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Can I vote?
No, you cannot.
Change his mind.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Yes,
Yeah, right. Welcome, Tony. Yeah, officially. Item 14, resolution to repeal and recreate the city's policies and procedures manual 1317 on social media policy.
Move approval.
Motion from Alderman May. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Rote. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 15, resolution rescinding the resolution relative to the establishment of the Information Technology Steering Committee.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Alderman May. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Weigel. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 16. Yeah, 16. Resolution relative to agreement with the Village of Greendale for public health services.
Move for approval, Mr. Chair.
I have a motion from Alderman Rote. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman Weigel. And for discussion, I'll say, yeah, this is great. Sally, this is great. Good job at the health department there. That's great. Communities working together. That's exactly what we need to see in government, and West Allis taking the lead. So that's outstanding. So there's my commentary. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chair.
Oh, Alderman May.
The dollar amounts again, was it $8,700 for the rest of this year? And how much for next year?
The fees will go based on the number of hours that they want above and beyond what we do for the agent work. We're gonna take all the revenue in for the agent work.
Okay, because when I had read it, I thought it might have been a little bit lean, but, okay. Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 17, resolution relative to accepting proposal of Portfol for furnishing loan management software and related setup training for a total sum of $17,500.
Move approval.
A motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Then we have a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
so what is loan management software for?
Yeah, okay. The loan management software, right now, we have a software called CDM, which is a very old platform. We run our housing and economic development loans through it. We'd like to get a standard software that where somebody comes in, applies, and set them up as a prospect, and manage the process all the way into the loan documents, and then finance can manage very variable loan terms. Right now, we do everything in Excel. Very hard to manage, very inefficient, and we need to have a system, and this is, we probably reviewed 5 or 6 different programs. This is one that actually comes out of an economic development organization out of Philadelphia, and that's the way they manage their loans, and it's very productive. And it provides strong case or applicant management all the way to a borrower. So you go from an applicant, like a sales force, into an actual borrower type of situation, where you can send emails and letters. Everything is more paperless, more creative, and better management for the whole city. And this is not only economic development loans, but we do TIF loans, we do other big fire loans, so multiple funding sources will help underwrite this cost. I've tried to get the software that we currently have to give us a quote, I can't even get them to return a call. So they say they're working on a new platform. We can't wait. We need to have this as soon as possible.
So it sounds like it'll streamline process, eliminate possible errors with
Correct.
Excel,
That's
and
the-
it will communicate with finance. Finance is excited by
Correct,
this.
yes,
Okay.
very excited because it's going to do invoicing and all of those things that somebody just has in their head or in a spreadsheet, so it's gonna be very good.
Perfect.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 18.
Move approval.
Thank you. We have a motion from Alderman Weigel. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Alderman May. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
So this is the way we usually run these, it's a match. So if he spends up to $60,000, we'll give him up to $30,000, 50% of what it
Yeah.
was the potential buyer.
Mr. Chairman, can I?
Oh, please. Yeah, that's what I want you to do. Come up here and thanks, Patrick.
Relative to Sarah, this is Parthenon Foods.
No, this is
Yes.
this is.
Yes, Randos.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
I was
Sarandos
looking at
2
Polly's, I'm sorry.
is Parthenon Foods on
Yeah.
84th
Same thing.
and Greenfield Avenue. When we started the process of him buying the property and talking about city assistance, we said we could maybe offer an economic development loan or a facade grant because it's within the half mile of the 84th and Greenfield TIF. The idea is to improve the corridor. We talked about improving 84th Street in the 84th and Greenfield area. This grant would help underwrite the cost of landscaping, enhancing the landscape around the corner, and a monument sign. The owner has invested, let me just make sure I get the right one. I got the folder open. 1 second. The owner has invested $1.1 million into that location, and this assistance is just a matter of, the grant is a small portion of that overall project. He bought the property and renovated it. That includes the FF&E he put into the property as well as the
What's
acquisition. of it.
FF&E?
Fixtures, furniture, and equipment.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. So this is part of the overall package. When we said we'd work with them, also help with the liquor license in that process to help get that investment. We saw it as a great addition to the corridor because we're gonna have the 84th and Greenfield redevelopment across the street with all the new apartments, and having a unique grocery store created a nice destination for that corridor. This is somewhat new in terms of the way it's structured because we are using the TIF funds. We call it a commercial facade, and it's like the one that we fund with community development block grant funds, but we're just using TIF. And I called it demonstration because it's out of a TIF. So,
And Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
coming out of that TIF, this is that. I think it was a $500,000
Correct.
fund that you and I were talking about
Yeah.
last week. So.
right, and these are funds that reserved when we created the TIF budget to do not only housing rehab within the half mile, but also to do things that can spur economic activity within that area, or do demolition if there's a demolition initiative that we need to address. Like a foreclosed or blighted property that needs to be torn down, and we don't have the resources to do it.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And then item 19, I think that's pretty much the same thing that you're talking about, Patrick.
Correct.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Alderman Weigel. Is there a second?
I
I'll
can-
second. I'd like to know what 8028 is.
It's the former Jackrabbit Slim.
Wow.
I think maybe in the future I can put those in the headings that might be helpful for your background, but this is Boudiak Properties, also the owner of Polly's. This is the legal entity that he uses to purchase properties and et cetera. He's looking to do a breakfast and lunch type of business at that location. Extensive renovation, not only to the overall site, but to the building, new windows, et cetera. And we're going through the process of helping. The grant was to help leverage to get the bank to provide him the financing necessary to buy the property. And we will be probably coming back with an economic development loan to help this. This is a large project of renovation and attracting a new business to the National Avenue corridor. So our goal is to use the National Avenue program initiatives there to help fill that vacancy that's on the avenue.
Mr. Chair,
Alderman
is
Rowe.
this TIF extension also or not?
Correct.
Oh, this one, this is
Mhm.
half a mile, huh?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 20, a resolution to approve a demonstration commercial facade improvement project contract by and between the City of West Allis and Evenement LLC, property owner of the property located at 7140 West Greenfield Avenue, in an amount up to $65,000.
Move approval.
Have a motion from Alderman Weigel,
Second.
second from Alderman May, and for discussion purposes, we have some nice pictures of what it's going to look like.
Yeah.
Mr.
Right.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead, Alderman.
This is describing says the property owner. The previous one said prospective property owner for the National Avenue, so.
Yeah,
is
it's
this,
probably
it's still prospective?
Correct,
I
yes.
just, Okay.
Negotiations are ongoing, and this is all subject to an accepted offer and completion of financing. But we're one of the things that is on a safety and development agenda is to apply to get a state grant, and you have to have all your local approvals done to be able to apply for the state grant, which is not part of the overall budget to this project. But this is a complete renovation of the 7140 West Greenfield Avenue property into an event space. So the building will have extensive renovation on the outside, restoring the windows that are currently blocked up and covered with a unique material of stucco or gravel that seems to fall off with each rain and frost that happens. But the idea here is to create a destination in our downtown. The project has secured a commitment from Waukesha State Bank, which we'll talk on another item here relative to financing. And that one of the conditions is because of the building size, it's called a demonstration because we elevated the amount of a typical facade grant to get this project done. It's a large project. It's a $1.7 million overall project. So this will create a true destination and a gem in our community.
Yeah, good news, for sure. Any discussion, further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
That one is funded with Community Development Block Grant Fund.
Item 21, a resolution to amend and approve the following City of West Allis policies: 1412 vacation, 1424 overtime, compensatory time, and premium pay. Yeah, what are we doing here, Rebecca? Can you?
Did you skip 21?
yeah, you skipped 21.
Yeah, that's what
That's not on 21. Something's mislabeled.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, that says 21 for me. So, item 21, a resolution approving the terms and conditions of the economic development loan to Evenement LLC for HUD Community Block Grant, the amount of $135,000. Thank you, everybody, for correcting me.
Move approval.
I have a motion from Alderman May. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
And a second from Alderman Rote. Go ahead, Alderman
Patrick,
Rote.
the way I read it, he's personally guaranteeing this one, right?
They would personally guarantee the loan. This is a subordinate loan because when you do the structuring, you secure a bank loan. They are going to take a first on the property and take a first on all the equipment that the business usually has. So we usually are subordinate in the structure, and the best that we can do is to get a personal guarantee or some other collateral. In this case, there's not other collateral to secure the loan.
With that plastics company a month ago, we didn't have any of this, correct?
We did have a collateral. We were subordinate in that case too,
But
and a personal
that's
guarantee. But
guarantee, did we?
we had a personal guarantee. They filed bankruptcy. So the personal, if they file personal bankruptcy, then you lose your personal guarantee. That's how that structure works.
And Mr. Chair,
Alderman May.
I point out this is CDBG as well.
This is Community Development Block Grant
Right,
Fund.
no,
So the idea is that it's the great jobs, the ultimate goal in their downtown. The financing structures that so they receive a SBA 7A loan from Waukesha State Bank. We would provide a $135,000 economic development loan. There'd be personal equity of $150,000 into the project, and then there'd be the $65,000 facade grant into the overall project. So the renovation is close to $1 million when you factor in soft costs and the renovation, and then there's a purchase of equipment, and then working capital into the overall uses of the project. So we would structure this loan very similar to the bank note. So there would be no principal and interest the first year, and then interest starting in the second year. It'll be 6 months to rehab the property, and then you have to build up
Yes.
sales, to be able to, and the bank has already they're doing a 21-year term, which is what we're modeling it. First year is just interest payments, and then the principal interest starts in the second year. So these are, the terms that we're trying to match and help facilitate the renovation.
First year being the second year, though.
Yes, I mean,
Mr. Chair, Alderman Weigel.
I can say that the bid's very excited about this development. And especially when you look at the alternatives for that property, because I believe needs a roof and needs a boiler right now. And without what we see, I'm not gonna say call her an angel, but, this purchaser and this business owner is gonna take something which is just about on the brink of going over the wrong way and turn it around. Otherwise, we'd be potentially looking at demolition costs on this building in a year or two. What would demo cost on that building be?
I mean,
$135,000.
we just bid another property that's 1 story, and that was 130. So you imagine 2-story, and you're next to another building.
Yeah, in the downtown.
You're built right up, and then you'd have an empty lot, which is never good in a downtown.
Yeah, this is, we're all very excited for this to happen, And you said the bank, Waukesha was in for 1.4 million? Or
996.
990, okay.
Well, excuse, 1.3.
1.3,
Yes.
so,
That's the renovation is, and you add in all the other costs, it comes up to 1.3. So, this loan is subject to getting the appraisal of the phase 1 and making sure that she locks in the commitment on the property, which is right now still ongoing. So, but we want to keep everything moving forward. So when the trigger's pulled, we have all our approvals and we can proceed to get this project going.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right. Now we're on item 22, which is the resolution to amend and approve the following City of West Allis
Thank you.
policies. Thank you, Patrick. Overtime, comp time, and premium pay. And yeah, Rebecca, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. Can you just tell us
No,
about
not at
these a little bit?
So, probably sick of seeing this one, 1424. It's probably the 4th time since June. But the first one, holidays, 1412. There's a section in there for police and fire dispatchers. Recently, they changed the structure of that department and the employees in there. They're not all called dispatchers. So we thought to update the policy would be the best idea and call them Public Safety Communication Center employees. So they would be covered under the section regarding scheduled holidays. That's the only change in that holiday policy. In the overtime compensatory time and premium pay policy 1424, you'll see several clarifications. First is under the fill-in pay, just clarifying when someone would be eligible for fill-in pay. There were certain different interpretations of that going on. Employees might be having one interpretation while the supervisor was having another. So we added some language to provide that clarification. And then on the last page, under the inspector certification pay, we clarified that the 2% base pay was at the step 1 of the position, as well as the certification pay, mostly for the equipment mechanics, due to the fact that not only does Public Works have equipment mechanics, the police department also does. This would give that person the eligibility to have that certification pay. So those are the changes that are in that policy.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Alderman May,
Second.
second from Alderman Weigel. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, then item 23, a communication from the city administrator regarding recommended changes to the workers' compensation incentive program.
Okay, we have 2 people here and we have the PowerPoint up, so.
Come on forward.
We have the power.
Yeah.
Oh, you're all the way. Quick call.
Sorry for the
So I'm gonna show you some numbers, and being finance people, you guys will probably be okay with this.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't know if everyone knows who you are.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm Greg Gilsinger. I'm the Director of Workers' Compensation for Cities and Villages Mutual Insurance Company. We're the third-party administrator for your self-insured workers' compensation program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Linda, you wanna introduce yourself?
I know.
Well,
Yeah.
the people
Oh,
are,
the
we're on
home
TV
audience.
Oh, sorry,
now.
oh, wonderful, great.
Home audience.
I'm Linda Husky, the Safety and Training Coordinator for the City of West Allis, and I also do the workers' compensation.
So I want to just take a look at what the numbers are in terms of medical costs for the city. There's a lot of numbers on there, I apologize for that. But kind of towards the bottom, on average, the city's billed about $471,000 per year in workers' compensation, paying about $380,000, getting discounts of about $90,000, which over that time period is 19%. Workers' compensation, the state average for discounting is about 15%, so you guys have been doing better than the average. As you can see, the last couple of years, the numbers have been much higher, 25 and 27%, which is getting close to double the state average for discounting. And I think that's because of the incentive program that the city has already instituted. So now we're looking at potentially expanding that so we can increase those numbers. If you look at the very bottom line numbers, if we get to 40%, and I think we can with surgical bundling, that more than doubles the savings we're getting on an annual basis. Bundling is something that you're probably well aware that's done in health insurance. It currently is not done in the workers' compensation world. So West Allis will be, if we do the bundling, which I think it makes sense, we'll be on the cutting edge of that because it's something that's going to come to workers' compensation because the discounting is just so tremendous compared to what we're reimbursing on workers' compensation now, and we'll get into those numbers. So these are some numbers for the incentive program now and why we do it and why the city of West Allis does it. As you can see, for MRIs, the average amount billed in workers' comp is $3,200. The average reimbursement is $2,800. With the incentive program, we're reimbursing $600. So even with the amount we're paying the employee right now, $100, you're paying $700 for an MRI. That's a $2,100 savings per scan. CT scans, we don't have as many of those, but it's a $1,400 savings. Physical therapy is also a big deal. That's 15 to 20% of the overall costs. You can see the average reimbursement in physical therapy and workers' comp is $280 per visit. With the incentive program incentivizing people to go to Wisconsin Orthopedic Physical Therapy, we're able to get that number down to $125 per visit as a flat rate. So we're getting very substantial discounts with this idea of incentivizing employees to go to specific providers. As you know, in workers' comp, we can't direct care. Linda Husky actually came up with the idea in probably mid-2014. She called me up and said, I know we can't direct care, but can we incentivize employees to go to specific providers? And I said, I don't know. So I called one of our attorneys. They did the research, and they said, yes, you can. And that's kind of where this whole idea came from and was born. And it's just this idea of incentivizing employees to utilize specific providers just opened up a whole new world to us in a world of discounting and pricing and workers' compensation. So good job there, Linda. So this is your program. Since we've been doing the incentive program, utilization for MRIs. You guys have very good utilization because I think Linda's very diligent in promoting the program with the employees. Out of the 34 scans we've had since 2014, 22 have utilized the program, and you can see the savings. We've paid almost $15,000 on 22 scans versus paid $26,000 on the 12 scans where they went out of network. And I think even that paid per scan out of network is $2,200, which is much lower than the $2,800. And I think part of that is because you're getting so many people to go to Smart Choice or MH Imaging, and you're not getting many people that are going to some of the other facilities, namely the hospitals, where they typically charge $4 or $5 grand for an MRI. So that's been a real good program. And the good thing about it too is, and there was a concern of that when we started the program, that if we incentivized employees to go to specific providers, that it might increase utilization, and some people might go because they would get paid to go. That has not happened. Physical therapy, the other area where we're doing the incentivizing, as you can see the numbers there. The average cost per claim at the bottom, if they go to Wisconsin Orthopedic Physical Therapy, is about $2,500 versus the average cost per claim is about $4,800 when they go out of the network, which are new terms in the workers' compensation world. So there's definitely significant savings when they can go to Wisconsin Orthopedic Physical Therapy. And I think one of the reasons it also works is when we pick providers like that, we're very diligent about picking the best providers. Because ultimately, I mean, that's a really good physical therapy outfit. If we're going to incentivize people to go somewhere, they need to go to one of the top providers, because that way they have a good experience, they have a good result, they'll talk to their co-employees about it, and then more people will go. If they don't have a good experience, people will stop using the program. So we're very picky about who we incentivize employees to go to. And as you can see, the utilization has picked up a little bit from none in 2015 to 3 in 2016 and 7 so far this year. And I think part of that is that people like the experience there, and Linda also promotes the program very well. So we would like to increase that utilization, because the more people that go there, actually the better results we get, which is ideal, and the less money the city pays out. So the next area we want to expand the incentive program to is the surgical area. These are really where the big costs are in workers' compensation. It's that, it's a few percentage, it's the small percentage of claims that have surgery that is really where all the money goes. Surgical costs are extremely high. Wisconsin has, in workers' compensation, on a fee-for-service basis, of all the studies I've seen, the highest cost in the country. And so when you get into surgeries, we pay a lot. As you can see from that chart there, the retail amount, if you look at Aurora, about $74,000 for an ACL reconstruction and knee surgery. That's typically what we're seeing in workers' comp, because people are going to hospitals, medical centers, usually when they have surgeries. That $74,000 that's billed, we're probably reimbursing $50,000 or $55,000. With this idea of bundling, which is not just a surgery, it's pre-op, the surgery, and all the post-op follow-up, as well as a guarantee. So if there's a post-op infection that sets in, that's all included in that price. Right now, we don't have that in workers' comp. So if a post-op infection sets in, we keep paying for that. And anybody that knows that's been involved in a situation like that, to treat an infection after a surgery is quite expensive, and sometimes even more expensive than the surgery itself. So here, as you can see by these numbers, the lowest reimbursements are at the surgery centers, which we already know. So part of this incentive program we want to do is not just incentivize employees to go to the top doctors, but incentivize employees to go to surgical centers. Not only is it the lowest cost at the surgical centers, but there's much less risk of infection at a surgical center versus a hospital. So it makes perfect sense to try to get people to have their surgeries at a surgical center, both from a cost perspective and an outcome perspective. Rotator cuff repair, the reason I use these two examples, they're the most common surgeries we see in workers' comp, are knee and shoulders. Same thing here, you can see the discounting is just tremendous, particularly if we can get someone to the surgical center. If you look at the top one, the Menominee Falls Surgical Center, pay $12,000 for the whole surgery. We're typically paying that much right now in workers' comp just to the surgeon. So the discounting is really tremendous compared to what we're getting now in workers' compensation. And then the other thing we want to do, we talked about, is incentivize people not just to go to specific facilities, but to the top doctors, because I think that's ultimately where there's tremendous savings. And the reason for this particular slide, if you look at the numbers on the far right, the incurred amount, that's the total cost of those claims. These were not City of West Allis claims, fortunately, but they were from another self-insured in our group. The claim, these were all foot and ankle surgeries. The claim with the best result at the top cost about $60,000. The claim underneath it, which did not have a good result, cost over $250,000, and the one below that cost over $400,000, just with a bad result from a foot and ankle surgery. And the one at the bottom was a cop who could no longer be a cop because of the bad result, and then that added a duty disability cost to it. So the costs of bad surgeries are tremendous, and they transcend workers' compensation, because then they get into areas of other benefits. So the idea here in the program is to incentivize employees to go to the top providers. The one thing about workers' comp that employees like is we can't direct care, the employer can't direct care, so they can go anywhere they want for treatment, and that's great. The problem is sometimes they don't go to the best specialists or to the right specialists. And so up to this point, we've had little influence in that regard. us as the TPA, the employees don't necessarily trust that we have their best interests in heart and want them to go to the best surgeons. They're not necessarily trusting the employer to have their best interests in heart and want them to go to the best surgeons. So part of this program is to incentivize people to go to the top doctors. And there's another way when we tie the whole thing together that we'll show you later is how we also, is probably even a better way to get people to the top doctors, and that's through referrals within this program. So how we ultimately want to take the model with the incentive program is to incentivize primary care. The reason we want to do that is I think that's the best way to get people to the top specialists. We've been talking to QuadMed and to PopCare. We can incentivize employees to utilize those facilities. When they need a surgical referral, those doctors will then refer them to one of the top specialists. The unfortunate thing about medicine this day and age is when someone goes to a doctor, their doctor may or may not refer them to one of the top specialists. So part of our arrangements with the primary care, either through QuadMed or PopCare, is that the doctors, and we've had these discussions with them as well as with our physical therapists, that when they refer somebody for surgery, it's going to be to one of the top specialists. Because ultimately, the discounting in this program is phenomenal and it's great, but unless you get results, that all goes out the window. So it's important that we get results as well as discounting, and that's what this whole program is about, and that's how it's designed. So the one thing I would want to say as we go on is that this is all new to workers' compensation. I mean, the people I've been working with here at the City of West Allis, Linda and Audrey, Rebecca, are very innovative and very diligent in their efforts to reduce costs. And really, I think what's being done here in West Allis will not only be a model for CIVMIC, Cities and Villages Mutual, but this is so good, ultimately I think this will be a model for the entire industry.
Mr. Chair.
Alderman May?
So you sold us on it, but I don't know what the incentive is.
Okay, so the attachment, there was an attachment
Yeah.
included. There is a $250 incentive for network primary care utilization, $500 for the use of the surgery center instead of the hospital, $500 for surgery performed in a recommended facility, increasing the MRIs from 100 to 200, and then increasing the physical therapy from 100 to 200.
Can I see that just one more time?
And if I could say, because we did also, I just looked at the physical therapy utilization for the incentive program for CIVMIC in the Milwaukee metropolitan area. And incentivizing people to use Wisconsin orthopedic physical therapy has not increased our utilization. 2014 was the last year without the incentive program. We had 60 claims with physical therapy in the metro Milwaukee area. This year we're on pace to do about 50. And I think the years in between we've been in the mid-50s. So that was one of the fears when we did this, that utilization would increase, and that has not happened, which is good news.
Great. And then as a baseline, also the city self-insures for workers' compensation, but CIVMIC handles our claims. That's
Correct.
the relationship. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
So you say CIVMIC's talked to CIVMIC's lawyers about this,
Correct.
and does our city attorney need to look at this? I mean, like you said, we can't direct people. Are people gonna, is the interpretation that's like, well, you're gonna give the guy $250, you're not telling him to go somewhere, but it's as good as direction.
Well, what happened there, that's a good question, because the lawyer that we had look at it is a lawyer that specializes in workers' comp, but you're right, he does work for us. But he also talked to the Department of Workforce Development, talked to judges up there, and he also talked to John Neal. John Neal is an applicant attorney who doesn't do any work for CIVMIC because he represents employees. And everybody he talked to, including the applicant attorney who writes the workers' compensation handbook in Wisconsin, they were all fine with the concept and actually were kind of excited about it.
Mr. Chair, our meeting that we had on September 21st, the Executive Safety Committee, I believe Cheryl Kahari was there as part of our meeting.
I'm always a little touchy when we're on the leading edge of something.
Good question.
I like city at the center.
The trail
Let somebody
lights.
else do that expensive,
Research and
exploration
development. Yeah.
and all that. Yeah, and they go, "Oh, this works. Let's," but I look at these numbers and it's like stellar. I mean,
And that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah.
We know the concept does work,
Uh-huh.
so now we're just looking to expand it.
Expanded in the workman's comp area.
Right.
Any further discussion?
So, Mr. Chair, I don't think this is necessary for approval. Something has to come to us, right? We're gonna put
No,
that into a
this-
policy.
No, this
and
is
send it to
for
the
approval.
This is,
No, we are going, we would like to approve this to increase the incentivization to
Yeah.
try and,
So there's no policy that gets written into?
no, this is how it was
just the
approved
way
the
it's gonna be.
previous
Yeah.
times before the committee.
Okay, that's fine.
And Mr. Chair?
Alderman Weigel.
And if after a year it doesn't work, we can always, this isn't something negotiated into a contract, this is workers' comp. This is
Correct.
just something, we have to take care of people get injured on the job, and this is a way we're gonna do it to help get better outcomes and save money for the taxpayers. And if we found out we're not getting better outcomes and or saving enough money for the taxpayers, we can just unwind this policy.
Yes.
any further discussion? Can I have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Again, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Nice job.
Thanks,
Some work to
Greg.
do.
Item 24, City Administrator Report on the IT Steering Committee meetings.
Move to place on file.
Second.
Motion from Alderman May and a second from Alderman Rote. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And item 25, Finance Director, Comptroller submitting.
Place on file.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Mr. Chair, I move the acceptance of the city attorney's claim report as he recommended.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
1994.
Yeah.
Finally getting around to it.
Yeah. Been stewing about that for a decade. 2 decades.
And final right lawyer.
Yeah. Item 28, resolution to approve the year 2018 operating plan for the downtown.
Move approval.
We have a motion from Alderman Weigel,
Second.
second from Alderman May. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. I think we're done.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
A motion and a second.
Like
All in
second,
favor of
but-
adjourning?
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.